Hello everybody, welcome to another video. I'm just sitting here, about to do my morning meditation. It's quite early, but I felt like, all right, let's record this video because this just came through and it felt important to talk about it. So let's do it. I feel that a lot of people at the moment are in the mind space of, what am I even doing here? Why am I here? Like maybe you lost the zest for life, or maybe you feel like you haven't found it yet. And I just want to give you some hope, because I can just tell you I've been through times like that and they've been really hard. So I really get what you're going through, and I know it's not easy, and sometimes it feels like, why am I even here? And there's no hope, and I'm not enjoying life, and all these sort of things. And that mostly occurs when we have tried so hard to fit in, when we've tried so hard to be somebody that is acknowledged by others, when we tried so hard to become what maybe your parents, your caretakers, society, your partner wants you to be and to do. And you may have tried to make friends and, just live life like everybody else, quote unquote, but it's been not working for you. And that usually happens when we focus all our energy, it's a little strong now, when we focus all our energy on making ourselves work for the world around us. And that's really dangerous, because that kind of leads to depression and anxiety, because we are not focusing anymore on, what do I want? Who am I? What would make me happy? What would make me jump out of bed in the morning and feel alive? So let's stay for a moment with this feeling of, what would make me feel alive? And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching right now may immediately go to your friend who is super successful and happy, or your parents, or whatever. But that is not the right direction of your focus. You need to go inward and soul search for, man, what makes me tick? What is the weird thing that really makes me feel, sorry, I need to change my position, that really makes me feel excited for life, happy. And that may look so different than anything anybody in your life is doing. It may not be oriented towards, let's make a lot of money. It may not be oriented towards spending time with the people that are in your life now. I'm not saying you should let go of all the people. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying let go of viewing yourself through their eyes. Because that can be positive sometimes when they reassure you and tell you, you're amazing, you've got this, but it can also be limiting when you feel like you constantly get criticism and you're constantly, told that what you do and how you do it and who you are is not sufficient or too much or whatever, inadequate in some way. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey, and I hope that is going to inspire you a little more. So I grew up in a way, I was a very sensitive child, obviously. As a child, I sort of learned that, I'm just a dumb child, like not in that way, not that harsh, but sometimes it came across like that. And I have nothing to say, like I have no wisdom because I'm not an adult yet. And, I'm just a child. Who am I, And that all, my playfulness and my ideas and all these kind of things are nice, but they're not the reality. And we need to work hard. And that's okay, like working hard is not wrong. But you need to choose something to work hard on that you enjoy, and not focus on working hard in a way that is sort of feels to you like suffering or punishment. Yeah, and a lot of people misunderstand that and feel like, oh, I need to work hard. That means I need to do a job that makes a lot of money and makes me miserable. But that's not the truth. Yeah, and your subconscious, as a child, you pick up either all the information through how people treat you and how you see people treat each other and how you see people live out their life. how you see people live out their life, okay? This is what you pick up if you want it or not. And as an adult, if life doesn't go in the way that you want, it doesn't make you feel alive or happy, you need to examine that what you don't know about yourself. And that sits in your nervous system, in your subconscious, and that all may not be up here. You may not understand it, and you cannot understand it with your head first. This comes later. Yeah? You need to understand that if I'm not in a place where I feel good about my life, that doesn't mean I'm not good at doing life. That just means I have the wrong focus, and there are emotions and situations held within me that don't make me feel good. So let's look at those. Let's, integrate those and feel through them. And by feeling through those held emotions, held experiences, maybe the time that you didn't speak up, maybe the time that your parents said, shh, or when you had an opinion, but they were like, you're just a child, what do you know? Yeah, but you triggered them because children are so wise. Children know. They still are so pure in many ways before they're getting so programmed, either in a positive and supportive way or in a way that takes away from them being themselves. Yeah. And I've definitely, and we all have, and this is no judgment on parents, I really want to say that, some of us had parents that just weren't aware of these things. They didn't learn how to teach a child something. They were overwhelmed with their own life. And some of us had more difficult childhoods than others. And I just want to say that as you're an adult now, it's your responsibility to turn it around. If you want to, but if you're watching this video, you're kind of looking for answers or searching for support. So I imagine you want to feel different. So, let's not do the blame game because, and with that, I'm not saying that your emotions are not valid, okay? You can be angry, you can feel frustrated or sad or grieving in some way related to how you grew up or related to your caretakers or parents or whatever. And that's okay. We don't want to bypass your feelings, but we also want to take responsibility. And taking responsibility means, not constantly saying, oh, they did this to me or that happened. And it's okay to say that, but then also own it and say, okay, and now I need to figure it out for myself. Now I need to, because when I wanted my life to change, I think I did also have a period in my early 20s when I really felt like so angry or resentful towards how I grew up in some ways. And towards my parents in some ways. And then I realized, what does this do for me? It just keeps me in this loop of feeling like a victim. And that doesn't do anything for me. That takes my energy away, that takes my power away, that takes away the sense of self and the sense of, that I am in control of my life. So let's not do this. Let's find ways to overcome it. And that's how I started to, meditate and then also, start feeling through my feelings. Music always helped me with that. And that's when I started realizing that, oh, my opinions, my perspectives, I have those. And before, maybe I was afraid to even consider that I have opinions and perspectives because they were not taken seriously in some ways growing up. But then this is just one side of the story, right? Maybe you had just one person that listened to you. Maybe you had just one person that loved you unconditionally, although everybody else's love was more conditioned. You know, there's so many perspectives that we don't see when we repeat the story in our head of I'm not good or whatever it is. And so I really want to suggest you to go inward, but don't go inward thinking it all through with your head and trying to find answers in your head. It's really about maybe write down the feelings that you feel most often. Maybe it's anger or regret or whatever it is. And then see if you can sit and feel those through. You can try, for example, the meditation that is for free that I have always pinned below. You can try it out, and maybe the first time your mind won't let you go that deep yet. It's really, you need to really understand that your mind is, wait, I want to put you down here. Let me put this away. You really need to understand that your mind is sort of like an alarm system, okay? So your mind will always try to protect you from feeling again the feelings that hurt you in the past, or opening the wounds that were created in the past. So in order to do that, your mind is not allowing you to get in touch with your subconscious. So the subconscious is where all the juice is at, basically. So this is where you hold the experiences and the emotions that you haven't processed yet, that are stuck within you. So that may be from, you know, like experiences that were hurtful or even trauma from the past. And as your mind is like a security system and trying to, you know, like protect you, it will even tell you all these stories to keep you either small or keep you in that comfort zone that may not even feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like maybe you're in discomfort, but somehow that where you're at right now feels to some degree safe because you're not seen. So you don't have to justify who you are in front of people or hide or get super anxious. You know, like maybe you are, the only way I can put it is comfortable in your discomfort. And that is not livable because you're constantly in this protective mode. And when you may try the meditation or you try to, you know, do some work on yourself, maybe your mind won't let you do that in the first time, because, you know, it wants to protect you. So it doesn't let you in. So the way that it protects you is your mind may think, oh, this is stupid. Oh, I don't like the music. I don't like what Vanessa says in the meditation, as an example. Or you may like work with a therapist or a healer or whatever, and you may be like, no, I don't think that's for me. Or you may feel like, this is not getting me any, like you're not even allowing yourself to fully commit to what's happening. Yeah. So when you make a meditation, maybe you don't commit, you're just in your head about it. Or you go to have a session with somebody and you don't allow yourself to say, okay, I'm going to go full in. Yeah. And that is just your mind protecting you. Yeah. When I have people come to breathwork sessions, they come often skeptically because they don't know what it is and they feel like, oh, this is woo-woo or strange. It's scientific, honestly. And it has such a power to change you directly in 1 hour. It's unbelievable. It changes me still all the time. And I've been doing it for so long. So that's why I love to give those sessions, because it's powerful. And sometimes when people come and they are like, oh, this is weird, like I have to breathe, okay, and they don't allow themselves to go there, obviously they will not have an experience. So it's a little bit about you allowing yourself to step out of your mind and not give your mind all the power. So I think this may be hard to understand for some people who are very identified with their mind. And again, no judgment on you. I've been there too. So you need to start observing your mental narratives. So that is when your mind tells you, this idea is stupid. Don't even get started. You know, people already do it all over YouTube or all over the world. So why should you start this kind of company? You know, you will never succeed. Let's say this is your mental narrative. And then it's important that you observe it. You can even write it down, your thoughts. And then, you know, let's say this is the person that gives you that narrative. This is the part of you. So we are one, obviously, but we're also like a puzzle. So you have different parts inside of you. And some of those parts you like. Some of those parts you don't like or you feel ashamed about, or that could be called, you know, they are in your shadow because you either don't see them or you don't want to see them. Yeah, because you feel shame about the parts and so on. But that doesn't mean that those parts are wrong. Obviously, all the parts of you are supposed to be here because otherwise, you know, they wouldn't be parts of you. But some parts may be tainted in the color of ego, of grief, of, you know, like shame, pain. And that's why you don't even want to deal with them. That's why you put them in your shadow, you could call it, okay? Because you could also call it, they are disintegrated. They are not accessible to you and you don't want to be in touch with those parts to keep you safe again, right? Keeping you safe. All you do all the time is to survive and keep you safe. And that's why it's called survival mode, okay? And that may mean you get anxious, you get defensive, you get angry, you freeze, you run away, yeah? So that are all the moduses, however you want to call it, grammar, that you may engage in order to keep you safe. But living in survival mode doesn't do anything for you. Why? Because you're depressed, because you're anxious, because you have no lust for life, because you don't feel like you contribute, or whatever it is for you. I mean, you can answer this for yourself. Everybody has a different response to it. So when you're staying in this, let's call it box, of where you're continuously just trying to survive, just trying to fit in, just trying to, you know, be acceptable in some way, that takes away so many parts of you, right? Because you think, oh, if I embody this part, oh my God, I'm not acceptable. If I embody this part, oh my God, I get in conflict with that person. If I do this, if I do that. But this way you betray yourself. And betraying yourself is the biggest pain you can give to you, which leads to feelings of I'm not adequate, self-hate, not feeling like life has anything to offer to you. Yes, because you are depressed, and depressed is you're not your full self. You're depressed, yeah. And when you're anxious, you're also not your full self, because all your energy is used to pick up the information from everywhere else. Again, it's another way of keeping you safe, to make sure, oh God, what is this person thinking, and that person thinking, and that energy, and this energy, you know, like you're just constantly trying to protect the box. So when you're trying to protect the box, or get super small in the box in depression, get super small in the box, you know, you're not filling out the box, you're not living. And I hope that makes sense. I know I'm speaking quite passionately here, but this is all the stuff that's coming through right now. So it's I hope that makes sense to you. Let me know. But it's really, how can you be happy when you're either focused all the time on the outside, or focused to make yourself small and not rock the boat? And I've been using this term a lot in my videos lately, rock the boat. And I think it's time for you to rock the boat, because the real thing that's going on is your story in your mind tells you, oh, make me smaller, or let's focus on everybody else. But that means you're not in your body. And that's, that takes you away from feeling alive. When you're in your body, when you're grounded in who you are, that means, oh, I know what I like. I know my passions. I know what my values are. I know who I am. And you put this above everybody else's opinions. You put this above what anybody else is expecting of you, because you know that it doesn't matter. And that the people who cannot accept your full self with all the parts that you are integrated, they don't belong to your life, But you may have learned as a child that I need to protect myself, or I need to constantly be aware of what everybody else thinks of me and wants from me, so that I am acceptable, so that I am fed, so that I am loved, so that I belong, so that I'm not too much, so that I am enough. But how does it feel right now? It may have served you, that behavior. And that is a really, it's a very naive way to protect yourself. And why is it? That's not a judgment. Why is it a very naive way to protect yourself? Because your child, you came up with it, right? Your child, you came up with it and decided, okay, I'm going to disown this part of me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to have an opinion, because it's, that leads to mommy or daddy or uncle or brother or sister or whatever to not like me. And then I feel scared, or then I don't belong. Yeah. So this is a very, very childish way to protect yourself. Doesn't mean it's not smart. Yeah. So when you were a child, this was the only way to protect yourself, no matter in what direction of the things that we just talked about. You decided, okay, not consciously, obviously, but you decided what not to do and what to do in order to protect yourself. And this modus, this behavior, this pattern stayed with you over time, and it became so normal to you that now you think, this is who I am. I am anxious. I am depressed. I'm no good. I can't do anything. Why can't you do anything? Very easy, because you don't let yourself explore. Because you think if you did, then something bad would happen. Okay, so these patterns are created over time, but it was initiated by your child you, when you were a child. Yeah, sometimes also later in life, but let's stay with this example. So you don't even know why you're doing certain things, and that may drive you crazy. I have clients all the time that tell me, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I don't like myself. I don't know. Yes, because it's become so, these patterns and these thought patterns have become so much of who you are. You think they are who you are, but they're not. They're just ingrained because you've trained them so long to embody. Do you understand? You've trained them so long to embody, so now they feel like they are you. But this is just a way of self-protection that you've created in order to feel safe as a child. You're not a child anymore, so you don't need these patterns anymore. Back then, they've served you. I'm sure they've served you. Even though they, created a narrative that doesn't support your full self and your self-expression and, feeling free in your life, they did serve you then. That's why we all have the task as adults to feel inside and check in with ourselves and kind of reverse those negative patterns so that we can integrate those parts of us that we are disowning. And that reintegration creates a fullness within you. It basically fills up your physical body and fills up how you feel about yourself and gets clarity because you now know yourself. So if you feel at the moment empty and you don't know who you are or what your contribution is or why you're here at all, sorry, my camera constantly stops working, so I'm putting it on the computer. So if you are at the moment not satisfied with your life, if you're going through a difficult time, let's just say it simply, start going inward and examine those negative patterns. Find them, find those negative beliefs, and start processing emotions that are connected to it, because that's really what it's all about. In order to step out. And this is not going to happen on one day. This is not going to happen in one therapy session. This is where you have to commit to the next era of your life, so to say. Why? Because I think it's actually just normal that we go through these things. This is what life is about. You're born, you pick up all these narratives. Some people pick up super positive narratives and have to do less of this work. And some people are born in circumstances where, they take in a lot of negativity or, unsupportive programming, I want to call it. You go through a lot of difficult situations, and then like with that programming that doesn't support you and who you are and who you ought to be here with your purpose and everything, you may feel very disconnected from yourself. But that doesn't mean that it has to be like that always. Okay? It's just, it's a decision of, do I want to live? Do I want to feel alive? And then, actually for me, I have to say, when I realized, oh, there's room for, or there is space for me to share my opinions. There's space for me to have a perspective. And it's valuable. When I first realized that, or let's say I didn't realize it per se, I heard that this is a thing. I was like excited. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And that actually got me so curious for what is inside that I don't know about myself. What is inside that has a hold over myself, that is kind of like holding me in shackles? And I was like, there's another way. I can feel differently. I can feel, like worthy or whatever. And when I first realized this, I really dove headfirst into all this work and into discovering all those modalities and myself on so much deeper levels. And, when I had my first astrology reading, and I know this is not for everybody, but I just want to share it anyway. When I had my first astrology reading and the person was like telling me about my purpose and all these things, I was feeling so far removed from that state. I was feeling so far removed from, this could be me, really? And I felt even like, ooh, wow, and I couldn't believe that this could be me. But I grew into that, and now it feels like this is so me. But it's a journey. It's a journey to process all the embarrassment, all the shame, all the pain, all the fear, all the grief, all the sadness, whatever it is. And I want to make sure you don't have to tell you that you don't have to wait to live and to feel alive until you're fully healed. There is no fully healed. There's only, okay, I don't feel good in myself. What is the narrative that creates that negativity for me or this disconnection for me? And it's kind of like you need to become the parent or the big sister or the big brother that you didn't have. You need to hold that vision for yourself. And if you as a child have been often criticized and put down or whatever, whatever it is for you, then just know that you may have internalized that voice, that narrative, and now you're telling it to yourself, and that holds you back because you're not being your full self. You're not exploring, you're not experiencing, you're not experimenting, you're not allowing yourself to be playful and make mistakes and all these things. which gives you a feeling of feeling alive. And when you've internalized that voice of whoever it is in your life, maybe a mom, dad, teacher, caretaker, whatever, grandmother, grandfather, I don't know, you know best. Then you're keeping alive this limitation that you've experienced as a child. And you don't want that, right? This is what I said a few minutes ago about you're no longer the child that was told all these stories and created those patterns to keep you safe. You are now the adult. So your job is, if you want to live a happy life and you feel that there are limitations that hold you back from that, undo the patterns, undo the, like feel through the held emotions. And there is another side. Yeah. This is really what life is about. Like if you came from a difficult background and now you have all these beliefs and patterns and whatever, in order to set yourself free and live the life that you want to, you get to build it. You get to, first of all, decide, who do I want to be? How do I want to live? What ignites a spark inside of me? What is my heart longing for? Yeah. When you have those realizations, maybe you don't have them yet, but then maybe you can do little things to start exploring. And this way, you're also breaking out of that version that you've created. You've already created a version of yourself. Yeah, but it's a limited version. It's the one that doesn't rock the boat. It's the one that's not fully you. It's the one that fits in but is still unhappy because this is not what you're supposed to be. And you've tried this, and now you realize actually, well, it doesn't work. And maybe I'm afraid to try something else, but babe, at some point you really need to get courageous. And if you want to have a happy life that is on your terms, just like all these people you follow on YouTube, on Instagram, or wherever, you gotta get a little bit courageous. And this is a bit of a pep talk. You gotta get off your ass, sorry to say, and stop being sad for yourself and start taking action. I'm sorry, but there's not going to be any change if you are not starting to take action. And that's what I had to realize as well. Nobody comes to save you. It is you. It is gonna be you. And if you want to live a happy life, this is also something that's super empowering, actually. Like you get to make the change. You get to make the choice now. You don't have to wait for somebody else to make the choices for you. You get to pick your ice cream flavor. You get to pick what apartment to live in. You get to pick what job you want to do. Like for me, I always picked, but I picked in the way that would make me feel like I belonged. So I picked um, sometimes even countries to travel to because I know this was popular. Not in my actual mind, not in my conscious mind, but I think subconsciously I sometimes picked trips because I knew, oh, that would make me feel belong to a certain group of people or whatever. Yeah. And oof, strong. And when I realized that, I was like, wait, I don't want to be chained to opinions from the outside. That's what keeps you feeling disempowered. And I know it's hard to step out of it. But when you develop an opinion, when you develop a sense of quality, a sense of self, what music you like, what perspective you have, and you start having your own perspective. By the way, it helps a lot when you start journaling because you get your thoughts on paper and you see them. That's powerful. When I started, sharing my own perspectives, not just on YouTube, but like I feel like even in the jobs that I had, I, I, I often had an opinion, but sometimes I was maybe a little afraid to say it because I thought, oh, maybe it's wrong or it's going to rock the boat or people going to be not impressed or whatever. But at some point I realized, yeah, but I just have this one life as Vanessa. So let me take some risk because it can't get worse. You know what I mean? Like this is what life, what makes you also feel alive when you try something new and you are a little afraid and you take a little risk. Because if you just stay in the box, this is gonna kill you, you know, because this is not what it means to be alive. So sometimes we are ruled by that inner child, by the part of us that only wants to belong and stay safe. But again, like I said 1,000 times in this video already, you're not that child anymore. So you need to find a way to step out of that mental narrative that is at the moment ruling your world. Yeah. And you can only step out of it when you're processing the fear or whatever feeling is connected to it, because then it doesn't own you anymore. Yeah. And at, healing doesn't mean you will not feel a bit of pain about something anymore, but it means that the pain and the patterns, they don't own you anymore. It may come up. Sometimes I have stuff come up that makes me nervous or makes me feel like afraid to take another step. But then I sit and I feel it through and it doesn't own me anymore. It only owns you if you're trying to not feel it, if you're trying to not get in touch with it, if you're trying to bypass it. Okay, so this is so important. Yeah, because when you are not in the driver's seat of your life, when you're not the adult driving the car, but your inner child is, you will stay in those patterns. I really hope I'm making this clear. You know, like you're in the mind space. It's kind of like if you are an actor and you're getting into another role. Yeah. You're getting ready to speak the lines and you're in the role and then you're embodying the role and you're speaking from that place. That's what you're doing, but you don't know that you're doing it. So you're in the role of your inner child, and that is in order to keep you safe, right? To keep that pattern alive of, oh, I need to not be all these parts of myself because they're not allowed, but you're living in the past. I really hope I'm making this clear. You're living in the past as you're living out that narrative. You're living from the child self or the teenage self that try to protect themselves, try to be loved, try to fit in. And as you've practiced this pattern for so long, you're now, as an adult, still living in it. But nobody needs you to live in it like that. Yeah. But you project onto the outside world, if I don't do that, my friends will go away. And the life that you've built for yourself, the character that you've built, you already built a life for yourself, no matter how it looks like. You build it. Yeah. And it may feel limited and it may not have the people inside in that life that are loving, unconditionally supportive, that celebrate who you are, that lift you up, because they don't know that that there's another person inside. So by lifting away those held emotions and those narratives that you created to keep you safe, to belong, by, that's healing. By releasing those narratives and held emotions, you're becoming a different person. But this person has always been inside of you. Understand how funny this actually is? Like you're already yourself, but you've reduced yourself to a version that is not you, that you thought is acceptable or sort of acceptable to fit into the world. And now you feel like nothing. Now you feel like, I don't know who I am. I'm lost. I hate myself, whatever it is, because you're not fully being yourself. So the answer to that is discover yourself as if you're making a new friend, as if you're meeting a new partner. Date yourself. Get to know what flavor of ice cream you like. Get to know what TV show you like. Get to know what you enjoy, what annoys you, what makes you angry, because understanding what makes you angry tells you where your boundaries are crossed. It's actually an amazing journey of meeting yourself. It's amazing. And maybe you're thinking right now, oh, I don't want to meet myself. That sounds so cheesy. That's so weird. Okay. your choice. But this is your protective brain speaking. This is the part of you, a lot of people would call it the ego, I guess, but this is the part of you who wants to protect you. And it speaks in the voice of your dad or your mom or whoever, because it knows it works. It knows if I speak in this voice, she or he or they will not step out of the box. So we are staying safe in here. You understand what I mean? I really hope this makes sense because it makes so much sense to me. Last bit, I know this is a long video, sorry, but it just all came through. As I promised in the beginning of the video, like I tell you a little bit of my story. So, and again, I'm not saying that to blame any parents or caretakers or anybody, but I just want you to understand my journey so you can get inspired by it. So, I often felt like, oh God, I cannot say my opinion. My opinion is bad. My taste in music is bad. Um, you know, the way I dress, whatever. I always felt, not in my conscious mind, but subconsciously, like, oh no, this is embarrassing if I share my music playlist, or this is embarrassing if I share my opinion, or if I always loved music and singing. So, oh my God, it's embarrassing when people see me fully in my singing and not caring about anybody else. Those things never felt safe to me. And I always felt a lot of shame and embarrassment. And I'm not going to go into detail of why or whatever. But my patterns were like hiding a lot, you know. Also my body, when we wanted to go to the beach, my friends, think I always was like finding excuses to not go because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be seen in a bikini or whatever. You know, all these patterns that kind of like held me back. And then you know, then I found a career that made me feel like I am somebody. So, you know, I was working in the tech industry and was one of few women who was in that industry and good at it. I do love technology. I love innovation. I love creating ideas and stuff. But it felt more like, oh, I'm a woman in leadership. I'm a woman in tech. So that gave me an ego boost. It gave me it made me feel safe because uh, it put me into a position where I didn't have to justify myself, but I felt like, oh, I am somebody. And none of my family members ever studied or anything. So that also felt like, oh, I've achieved something. I am somebody. I'm acceptable, respectable, whatever. But inside, and although I did always enjoy my jobs, inside it never felt right to me. I always felt like I'm missing a piece, like I'm missing my purpose. Like this is not me fully, you know, like I was always the person who actually like was with the clients very emotional in a sense of, you know, very caring for them and all these things and trying to understand them deeply and trying to understand the team deeply and all these things. And I felt like there was not that much space for that because it is a fast moving industry. So I've always been a people person. And then somehow I fell into, you know, overworking and getting into a burnout and needing like a retreat. So I went on a retreat and there was a woman who was playing a singing bowl and you know, those metal singing bowls. And I was immediately hooked. I don't know what it was, but I knew, okay, I need to book that training. And this is how my journey with self-development, spirituality, growth started. And now looking back, I remember even as a teenager, even, you know, like I was listening to meditations and doing meditations. I used music to process my emotions. So it's always been me, but I never acknowledged it because I never took myself seriously. I never took my opinion seriously because I had this, you know, inner narrative of I'm just a child, what do I know? You know, and many other beliefs. But over time, I dismantled those beliefs. I broke through them and I realized, oh, my opinion matters. Like my perspective is powerful. And that's when I started working with people because I've worked so much on myself and I enjoyed just these topics. And I realized, like, this is just me. I love everything about the human experience and the cosmos and spirituality. And, like I couldn't stop educating myself and it made me feel alive. And that's how I knew, oh, I need to work with people. This is who I really am. And I went deeper and deeper and deeper. And through following my instincts, following my passions and my, like the little sparks of curiosity, I remember when I gave my first sessions and people were so grateful and taking me seriously. And I felt like a fraud because I was like, but I'm just me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just me. But from that moment on, I realized, whoa, it seems like it's enough to just be me. And that took me a getting used to for a long time because that wasn't my, that didn't feel normal to me. That being myself is enough. That being myself is welcome. That being myself is powerful and th sought after, you know. And then I started, studying somatic therapy and all these kind of things. Long story short, I just, I'm really grateful that people trust me and that I get to work with people and that I get to be myself every day. Every day I get to be myself. And it is getting used to that. Um, and it even feels scary in the beginning, like that this should be enough. This is so weird. Oh my God, and you may feel like an intruder or um, like an imposter or whatever, but that is the journey. This is the journey of self-acceptance and embracing who you fully are. I'm sure you have some people that you admire that, like where you feel like, wow, they're glowing and they're not doing more or whatever. They're just expressing themselves and they're going after what feels right to them. Yeah. And so get inspired by those people and their journeys because you can do it too. It's just about you getting in touch with you. What hurt you? What excites you? What are the things you never get enough of? Like I could never get enough of understanding the nervous system and our parts and the human psyche and how the universe works. Like I can't get enough. And that doesn't mean, again, that everybody needs to be a healer. It's for sure not like that. But what is your edge? What is your weird thing? Because I often felt weird starting this and not telling anybody that I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's a journey. So protect also your journey. You don't need to tell everybody. You can just do it for yourself. And if you end up being like, oh, I want to be an amazing hairdresser, great. If you want to be a cafe owner, amazing, but do what it is from your heart. Do it because it excites you. And maybe you don't even know right now what excites you, and that's okay. But then you need to get out there and experiment and just notice, ooh, I'm curious about that. I'm gonna read a book about it or watch a YouTube video or go do a apprenticeship or try something out. Live. You gotta live. You gotta live to feel alive. It's not gonna happen when you're at home and contemplating, oh, maybe I should do this or that. This is really one of the biggest learnings that I've had, that stop thinking about it. Get into your body and do it. Call them and ask them, can I trial work with you for a day just to understand how it feels like? You know, call that person you wanted to invite for a date for 100 years. If they say no, it's okay, but isn't it the thrill of being alive to just ask them? You got to stop living in your head because it gets you nowhere. And I'm so glad that I've taken actions on what excites me. And sometimes I took actions and it failed, and it's okay. You need to, you know, get a bigger capacity for failing, being embarrassed, being ashamed, you gotta allow those feelings because they're part of life. And we are trying, humans try all the time. I don't want to feel shame. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel embarrassed. But when you process all that past embarrassment, past shame, past grief, people are like, I don't want to get into a new relationship, but I want love, but I don't want to get into a new relationship because I'm afraid that I get hurt again. It's part of life. Excuse me. If you want to feel alive, you need to allow your emotions to be here. And the best way to learn that and to accept that is by processing the old stuff. Because once you process that, you feel like, man, I could do anything. Like now I could do anything. This is how I feel. Now I am like, okay, let me fall in love. I know how to deal with heartbreak. Let me ask for that opportunity. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Maybe I'm a little feeling weird about it, but let me feel weird. But I've tried. I went for what I want. And when you go even for the little tiny steps for what you want, you will feel more alive because you and your relationship to yourself will improve because you take action on what you want, on what feels right for you. And if you're just constantly, not listening to yourself, not getting in touch with yourself, not taking your ideas and whatever seriously, you're disconnected from life, from yourself, you're not feeling alive. Okay? So it's really about, I don't know if you understand when I say getting into your body, but what I mean is like, stop living up here. Stop overthinking. Post it on your mirror and write down, stop thinking, just do it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen when you just do it? You may feel embarrassed. You may feel like, oh, this was so weird. Or you may feel some sadness, but you've done it before. And when you learn, again, last thing I say, when you process your past, and that doesn't mean living in the past, that just means processing the emotions that you hold, that you've been afraid to feel into, to get in touch with. When you are doing that work, you will feel incredible because you will think like, whoa, now I have done this, I can do anything. And you won't be so afraid anymore of trying something else, inviting somebody out, asking for an opportunity, because that suddenly feels like, oh, wow, whatever. Then I feel a little embarrassed. I don't care. Then I fail. Okay, then I get back up, But maybe all these experiences were put in your way to embody, to process, to train you to be resilient and powerful for the life that you actually own, for the life that's actually meant for you. Yeah. Enough talking. I love you and don't give up. You've got this and you deserve so much better, a life that is really yours. And you get to build it. Don't wait for anybody else to show you the way because that wouldn't be your way. You got to show yourself the way.